Hello, YouTubians. We are on installment 3. Well, actually, it should be 3. This is 30. If you're giving hand signals for somebody across the room, this would be 33. So, it's another military thing you might learn. In installment 3, we're going to start talking about your introduction into the Navy. Okay, and this isn't only for those of you who have chosen to try a path in the Navy as a career choice. This can be for parents, high school kids, aunts, uncles, sisters, brothers, uncles, cousins, whatever, that are interested in what a person might go through when they're inducted into the Navy. So I'm going to read the introduction to the Navy portion of the Blue Jackets Manual, 3rd edition, 3rd installment. I hope I can keep up with numbering these because there's going to be a lot of them. Look at that. I mean, it's half a finger. Welcome aboard. These words carry a world of significance. They mean that you have made one of the biggest decisions a young person can. You have volunteered to enlist in the United States Navy. By raising your right hand and taking the oath of enlistment, you have become a member of one of the most important military services in the world and joined one of the biggest businesses in the United States. Not only have you proved your understanding of citizenship by offering your services to your country, but you have also taken the first step towards an exciting and rewarding career. There are many people that can enlist into the Navy, people from Puerto Rico and the Philippines, places where the United States has a very large presence. So not only will you have a conglomerate of people from around the United States, but you get people from other countries who enlist into the Navy. And they are made certain promises that if they serve a certain term, they get citizenship. And I think that's a brilliant idea. We need the understanding of people from other countries so that we have a bigger world understanding, because that's how the Navy operates. That's why we have a Navy. We have an Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. Coast Guard protects our coast. The Air Force they need places to land. So you can't just say, hey, Air Force, head over to the middle of Iran or Iraq or Afghanistan and start flying missions. That's what the Navy's for. The Navy can take ships over there that are already ready to go and sit off the coast and fly missions and in support of early personnel or in support of before personnel get there. A lot of pre-mission data gathering happens through the Navy. Navy SEALs will go in before anybody else sets foot, before Recon Marines set foot. Sometimes they'll send in Recon Marines at the very beginning, at the first of anything, because Marines are part of the Department of the Navy. They know some shipboard terms. They know how to survive on shipboard very successfully. They provide security on shipboards on every naval ship that I've been on. Sometimes the last thing you want is a sailor holding a weapon, because sailors like to complain and fight. This way you keep the Marines keeping the sailors honest. And when you need people on the ground that are good shooters, then you need the Marines. The Army specializes in sending in large forces of people. They also have their small special operators that go in first and foremost if it's going to be ground warfare. So, if you are not already familiar with names like John Paul Jones, Stephen Decatur, Doris Miller, William F. Halsey, and Marvin Shields, you soon will be, and you'll feel honored to be serving as they once did in the United States Navy. Today's Navy is a massive and complex organization, a far cry from the makeshift fleet that opposed the British in the Revolutionary War. Hundreds of ships, thousands of aircraft, hundreds of thousands of people, and an annual budget in the billions of dollars go together to make the U.S. Navy a powerful and important component of the American defense establishment, playing a vital role in maintaining our national security, protecting us against our enemies in time of war, and supporting our foreign policy in peacetime. Through its exercise of sea power, the Navy ensures freedom of the seas so that merchant ships can bring us the vital raw materials we import from abroad, like petroleum, rubber, sugar, and aluminum. Sea power makes it possible for us to use the oceans when and where our national interests require it, and denies our enemies the same freedom. You are now part of all of that. A vital part of the ships and aircraft of the Navy are only as good as the people who operate them. People have very little understanding that we have cargo ships coming from other countries to this country to give us many resources that we require, or goods that are made in China, so to speak. If we didn't have a Navy out there protecting our interests in international waters, then pirates would be taking over ships today as they used to, getting billions of dollars worth of goods from one ship, and we wouldn't get the things we need or be able to deliver the things to these other countries that we deliver. Hugely important, because let me tell you, you don't realize how big an ocean is until you're out in the middle of it. I was always out in the middle of an ocean on a big aircraft carrier, so I felt very secure all the time. However, if I was in a small yacht with 3 people or a sailboat with 5 people, I'd be a little nervous around certain areas, and I would make sure to navigate in waters that are patrolled by some sort of navy. And a lot of countries have navies, and we all serve the same purpose. So, in your first enlistment into the Navy, your introduction to the Navy probably started at your hometown recruiting station with interviews and processing conducted by a Navy recruiter. He or she was specially trained to compare your desires and your qualifications with the needs of the Navy to establish the terms of your service. Your contract with the Navy is officially called an enlistment, but you will sometimes hear it described as a hitch. It began when you took your oath of enlistment, and it will last from 2 to 6 years depending upon the terms agreed upon by you and your recruiter. Now, make no bones about it, your recruiter has a job. Your recruiter has a quota. Your recruiter must get you to enlist into the military. Now, the recruiter must also weed out certain things. Drug use is a no-no. If you didn't graduate high school, it's a no-no. If you were homeschooled and did not get a diploma, it's a no-no. You need a diploma to be in the military. Nowadays, we have millions of kids graduating that have diplomas. Why would the military invest in somebody who didn't have the fortitude to stick it out? Most kids drop out of school in, like between 9th and 11th grade. I don't understand it. Why would you spend, let's say you get out in 11th grade. I've known this year 2 juniors I personally knew who got out because they were fed up with it. They were like, I just can't do another year. It's like, dude, you put in 11 years and you couldn't finish one more year? That's not what the military wants. They don't want somebody that when things turn bad, you're promised 3 meals in a bed. Sometimes that bed is dirt and a backpack for your head that you would rather be leaning against than carrying around because it has 60 to 100 pounds of gear in it. They make a lot of promises to you, but those promises, just like all promises in life, sometimes things don't follow through and you're needed to go to a mission somewhere and you don't get all the great, wonderful, comfortable things. They don't want you standing up in the middle of that going, I quit, I'm out of here. You signed up for something that could be tough and could take your life if you aren't careful or if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's just the way it is. So take your enlistment into the military, any military, serious. Naval Training Center, Great Lakes. All recruits begin their naval careers in what is officially called Recruit Training Center or Recruit Training Command, which is also called RTC. You'll hear everybody call it RTC. Where'd you go to RTC? Great Lakes. We used to call it Great Mistakes because that was the biggest training center for enlistees for the Navy. And you always find funny things to call things, just kind of a military thing. It's how you deal with the stress of it. But it's more traditionally referred to as boot camp. Although you have relatives who once trained at boot camps in other parts of the country, currently the Navy is operating only one RTC located at the Naval Training Center, NTC, in Great Lakes, Illinois. This 1,628-acre training facility on the shore of Lake Michigan, about 40 miles north of Chicago, has been training sailors since July 1911. During World War II, nearly 1 million sailors were trained there. I am one of those millions of sailors who was trained there, or almost 1 million sailors that was trained there. And I was the first rifle company, I think, in 20 years. When I showed up in July of 1985, they had quit carrying rifles. And let me tell you, the rifle you carry is non-functional. It's literally welded shut. The only way you could hurt somebody with it is dropping it on their foot or beating them with it. Because they were heavy rifles. They're like, 14 to 18 pounds, something like that. The old M1s. But the reason they make you carry it is it's extra work. Plain and simple. They want you to be in good shape. And you having to do more than just march. You have to carry this rifle and you have to learn how to use it. And you have to learn all the commands. was a good experience. It kind of sucked when everybody shows up for chow and you put all your rifles leaning together like a teepee, and one person has to sit outside and watch all the rifles. That's the way it works. Sometimes, everybody had to do it, and that's the way it was. You and your other recruits will make the transition from civilian to military life in the time you will spend at RTC. Nearly every minute of every day will be filled with military drills, physical training, hands-on experiences, and a busy schedule of drills and classes on naval history, traditions, customs, operations, and regulations. At first, you'll probably find the transition challenging. You'll have completely changed your environment, diet, sleep patterns, climate, clothes, and companions, but within a relatively short period, you will make the necessary adjustments and find a great deal of pride to replace your initial anxiety. So that's where I will end this video, and that's where this comes in. You spend most of your time in Navy boot camp in classrooms, okay? I finished Navy boot camp, and I was like, that's it? You guys taught me a whole lot, but man, I was expected ropes courses and running, and you had to run everywhere in boot camp. If you were going from building A to building D or building Z, a quarter mile away, you had to run. There was no walking. If you were walking, you had to have what's called a chit, which is a piece of paper that was filled out with your name and everything. You had to keep it right here in your pocket next to your ID card, so that anybody stopped you because you're not running, they'd pull it out of they wouldn't even, they'd be like, come here, recruit, stick their hand in your pocket, pull it out, and shove it back in your pocket and say, get on your way. And that was it. That's the way it goes. You're a recruit. Don't take it personally. But we had to run everywhere. But at the end of the boot camp, I was like, man, I was expecting a little more strenuous activity, because I had seen, they always make a big deal out of Marine boot camp and Army boot camp. They're very strenuous. Navy, not so much. And like I tell people, how far are you going to run on a ship? From the port side to the starboard side. That's about it. It'll help if you know how to swim, and it'll help if you have some knowledge from this manual right here. If you literally knew this manual, which I don't know anybody who knows this manual, that's why they print it, okay? It's because you got a lot of things to learn, and all of this by no means will serve you well to know every word of this unless you have a didactic memory. But the more you do know about the basics, about ranks, rates, pay grades, things like that, the better off you'll be. So, thank you for watching installment 3, and until next time, keep them happy.